What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gotians Games. Welcome back to another Dragalialost video. And in today's video, we're not going to be doing any gameplay video, nothing like that. Actually, I wanted to sit down and have a discussion with you guys about the things that's wrong with Dragalia that needs to be improved greatly. Now, I already know, like the most of us, we already know that they are improving the game as far as like quality of life update goes with things that would help to progress characters. Now, the only things that they mentioned was the fact that they're going to work on the mana circles and I believe the required materials for the characters. Now, I wanted to talk about, since we're on that subject, talk about this, progression with the characters in general. There's a lot of grinding involved in the game. A lot of grinding in this game. Probably more than most people have time for, especially if you play multiple games or if you have a busy life in general. I just want to point out something that the most, I was going to say the most profitable, that's not the proper word. The highest rated games, okay, the highest rated games, or the games that people love to play the most on mobile phones or tablets or whatever, are games that are casual. Those type of games that you like to play. Just you're waiting for a bus, if you still ride a bus, or you're like waiting in between of like lines at Disney, or you're on the toilet or something. Whatever. It's a casual experience, and most of the games that have that kind of casual experience tend to do very well. That's why games like Super Mario Run is actually, has such a good lifespan in the game. I don't play it, but that's a good example of a Nintendo game that's doing well, and it's very simple. Like, it's a very simplified game, and it's a very casual game. Now, while there's nothing wrong with grindy games, I feel like the grind is too much in Dragalia for people to be okay with. It is kind of an issue when you're talking about Nintendo. Okay, not saying that Nintendo shouldn't do grindy games, but they already have one. Fire Emblem Heroes is a very grindy game. Okay, and then on the consoles you have grindy games as well. You have Zelda, you have Zelda Breath of the Wild, you have Octopath Traveler, your typical RPGs. You also have games like Super Mario Odyssey, which is in and of itself a grindy-esque game, and a very, very good game, by the way. But that goes to show that Nintendo can do grindy games. Xenoblade Chronicles, another good example of a grindy Nintendo game. So with those in mind, I'm not getting away from the fact that Nintendo can't do it, but they should do it in a way that it appeals to casual players as well as as well as the hardcore players. And with all these events that roll through, I feel like they're more catered towards hardcore players. Yes, you're gonna throw in that argument, well, the rewards, some of the better ones are earlier on, and yes, while that's true, you can't get everything. Like, there's absolutely no way for me to be able to get everything in the game or in that event, because I just don't have the time for it. Like, I have other games that I play, other games that I showcase on the channel, other games that I do videos on, SAOIF, Dragalia, Tales of Aaron, which I don't do too much Tales of Aaron, but we play it a lot in the Discord. Right now I'm playing Red Dead 2. I have Pokemon Let's Go, which is coming in the mail this week. I just started playing Epic 7. That's just to name a few of the games that I'm doing. So, plus on top of having like a busy life outside of YouTube with my family and work and everything else like that, I don't have time to grind a game like Dragalia like that. For me, if Dragalia was catered a little bit more towards casual players, where it's like, okay, I can run the event and I can get everything in the event by just logging and doing my dailies and completing the daily quests like that, and spending maybe like half an hour a day on the game, then I could get everything that I would want. Then that would be a little bit easier. That's why I don't like point systems. That's the problem that I have in Sword Art Online and Techno Factors with whenever they bring out events with point systems. I absolutely hate that because point systems are not casual friendly. Now, if you have it where it's set like you grind and you get items to trade in, and then you can trade in for what you want or what you prioritize, that is very friendly for casual players, and it helps with the longevity of games when you do it like that. Star Ocean, you go and you grind an event, you get items, you trade in those items for what you prioritize. You don't have to grind for everything. You can if you want to. And that's where it's good for the casual players as well as the hardcore players, because again, if you want to grind for it, you very well may grind for it because nobody's there to stop you. But if you're a casual player, you log in, do your dailies, and you're out, you can get enough of the in-game currency to be able to then go and trade in for what you want, whether it's summoning items or weapons or whatever case it may be, depending on whatever game you're playing. So that's why it's kind of important to be able to appeal to both. Now, Dragalia does kind of have something like that where you grind and you get the items that you use to summon. But let's be honest, the items that you summon for are nowhere near in comparison to the items that you would get if you're going to do the point system. Because obviously the point system is going to have the much better items. Now, if you just go ahead and put it into a general pool for the summons, then fine, that would actually be really good. Or if you wanted to do summons and items to trade in, that would be even better. But having the point system really takes away from the game as far as, a person who casually plays the game, and I enjoy the game. I'm not saying I don't enjoy the game. Now, you're probably like, well, that's kind of like a you problem. No, it's not just a me problem. It's an everybody problem who just wants to enjoy the game. That's how it is for everybody. So my biggest problem is always going to be the grind in the game, because there's too much to grind. You have to grind for weapons. You have to grind for items to improve your characters in the mana circles. You have to grind for a lot of items in the mana circle. So it's not just you're grinding for one specific item in the mana circle. No, you're grinding for mana to obviously use in the mana circle. You're grinding for specific items, so orbs, scales, different items to improve your characters further, and you need Eld Water, which is not a specific way to grind for the Eld Water, which kind of takes away a lot of it as well. So that's just too much to grind. On top of that, you have your weapons, which then you have to grind for the items to make the weapons, which that's okay. But the fact that you have to grind a lot for the weapons, because if you want to make a 5-star weapon, there's a lot of grinding for it that's involved within that. Plus, you have to then unbind the weapon 4 times, then turn it into another weapon. But in order to turn it into another weapon, you have to grind for that as well. Then further, you have to unbind that weapon to then turn it into a stronger weapon. You see where I'm going with this? It's too much. It's too much. For a casual player, you fall way behind way too fast. Okay? That is not a good thing. So the other problem that we have are the summons. Now, when you do the summons, there's 2 problems. The first problem is getting a worm print. They need to have worm prints on a separate banner. If you're going to have a banner with new characters, dragons, and worm prints, and then having the worm prints have higher rates, it's really going to kill things for people who want to summon for the characters and dragons. Especially considering that worm prints are just kind of meh. The other problem with the worm prints is the fact that the game has pity rates. And so if you go without getting a 5-star character, dragon, or worm print for a prolonged period of time, your rates go up. And so it really sucks to have high pity rates and then have your 5-star be a worm print. It really sucks. Okay, so honestly, they should separate the worm prints into a separate banner and make people happy that way. The other problem is that if you pull a duplicate character, it goes to waste. There's no purpose in pulling a duplicate character in this game. So a lot of times once you're summoning on a banner, when you pull the character, the featured character, you get out. You get out of that banner. You don't chase the dragon or whatever. And the reason is because if you pull the duplicate of that character, of that 5-star character, it turns into 3,000 Eld Water, which one is not nearly enough Eld Water. because 3,000 Eld water does not do anything for you, because it takes an astronomical amount of Eld water to be able to promote a 4-star character to a 5-star character. On top of that, it takes an astronomical amount of Eld water in the mana circles. So getting a duplicate character, a duplicate 5-star character at that, and having it turn into 3,000 Eld water is kind of a slap in the face, because it's useless, and you just threw away your Wormite or your Diamantium on that summon, because you can do nothing with that character. I mean, that's the two biggest things with the summons in this game. Okay, the rates are whatever. I mean, I can complain about the rates, but the fact that they have the pity rates kind of balances that out, so it's not too big a deal. But as the game progresses, there are going to be more units, more dragons, more worm prints, all in those banners. So to kind of prevent the overload that's going to happen in those banners, you need to take out the worm prints. They got to be in the separate banner. It has to be. Don't force the worm prints down the players' throats. Have us, like, if we want to summon on it, give us that option on a separate banner, because if it comes to the point that it's like you release a character and we're like, yeah, we don't really need this character, but then you release a worm print and we're like, you know, I could really use that worm print, then we'll summon on that worm print banner. So you're kind of helping yourself out. You know, when I say yourself, Nintendo, I know they're not watching this, but kind of helping themselves out Nintendo wise, and helping us as the players out, you know, in that case, especially for those of us who are casuals, because, you know, it's gonna get to that point that we're like, all right, well, you know, we give up in this game. And like, it's a good game, and I wouldn't want that to happen for a good game, especially a Nintendo game. I really like Nintendo. I've been playing Nintendo since I was 2.5 years old on my original NES, which I still have, and it still works. And so I will always be that, you know, die-hard Nintendo fan to the core, even though I prefer PlayStation now that I'm older. PlayStation and you know, and my PC. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I want to see it thrive, but in order for it to thrive, it needs to make certain changes to make itself more appealing for the everyday player. I'm sure there's other things. I just can't think of any more at the moment off the top of my head, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Let's have that conversation. That's the whole point of this video, is to have a conversation on things that are wrong with this game that need to be fixed. What do you feel as to what I said? Do you agree with me? Do you have your own comment, you know, your own feelings towards this game, like what needs to be improved to make it a little bit better for yourself in general, like as a regular player? Do you mind? Maybe you don't mind. Maybe you're like, Goshen, shut up. You know, this game is what it is. We like it how it is, and that's fine. That's okay too. This is all opinion based, and that's why we're having discussions. So with that, I will catch you all later. You guys have a great rest of your day. Peace out, guys.